My name is Sadhvi. I'm a lecturer in corporate social responsibility and business ethics, and I work at Queen Mary University of London. The Verbatim Formula works with young people with an experience of the care system, and often what we find and what we know about is that young people are excluded from making decisions about their lives and about determining the scope, the depth, the richness, the parameters of the service that they receive. And taking the limitations in mind, we believe as a project that there is huge scope for young people to become more engaged in democratic ways that feeds their voice into the rolling out of the service, the measurement of the service, the evaluation of the service through using the voices, through interviews, group discussions, a residency curated for and by young people with an experience of care.
So my name is Mita Pujara. I'm an artist and a researcher, and my role in the Verbatim Formula is as one of its evaluators. So I'm part of the evaluation team. And as an artist, I'm interested in this project because I've always worked through drama and movement in order to empower young people's voices. And as a researcher, I'm really interested by the Verbatim Formula because it's looking at shifting the power within evaluation, existing evaluation methodologies, and opening up evaluation much more. As a researcher, I'm also interested in the Verbatim Formula because it's looking at changing and shifting existing evaluation methodologies so that we can engage the voices of the young people who may be care experienced in this case, to have some ownership and some voice in the decisions which are made for them, which create and deliver the services they have to receive.
The way I got involved with the Verbatim Formula was because of my interest in the arts and how the arts can support a radical way of changing things in organizations. And by that I mean using a performance or even a visual piece of art to create a dialogue and a sense of accountability in an organization that a simple, straightforward report or piece of writing simply cannot do. So my research has always been about creating spaces for radical democracy within organizations, and I'm using my experience doing that, working with other third sector organizations to develop a methodology with the other collaborators in the project that uses the arts as a methodology for creating democracy and democratic change within organizations. My own background is interdisciplinary. I have expertise and skills, if you like, in a variety of different things. My undergraduate degree was in psychology, but I was very much drawn to psychoanalysis, and I've always had a strong practice in the arts, be that visual arts or drama practice. I ended up doing a PhD in management studies, but I was still drawn to looking at organizations that sit outside the kind of normal parameters of what we think business management studies should look at. So I've always been drawn to third sector organizations, non-governmental organizations, charities, and especially the organizations within the third sector that use the arts as a way of creating change or democratic dialogue with people who are most excluded in society.
I think it's really important, and one of the reasons why I work in the Verbatim Formula is the use of the arts in evaluation. So the arts are a really brilliant way of young people and professionals really thinking and reflecting on their practices and on their situation. I think it's really powerful and to perform an evaluation rather than just to write it and put it in a report, because it brings the person's story to life. It engages people who are listening on a human level, and it brings up what we call the affect or the emotional the emotional story behind each person, and how we have to elicit change from that standpoint. If we elicit change from only our heads and only the rational, then change may not last. But I think to create a change, if it can start with an emotional and an affective response, then we have a chance of making a deeper change. A lot of young people who I've worked with who are care experienced or have unaccompanied minors in this country, that they often don't have the space to express themselves. So what performance does is it allows you to express yourself in many ways, in different languages, in no language. And I think for those young people, performative evaluation can be a very powerful mechanism. But to be involved in performative evaluation, you don't need to be a performer or to perform. So you can guide, you can shape the questions. In Verbatim, what's wonderful is your response can be performed by somebody else. So you don't have to be in the spotlight doing the talking. And I think for a lot of young people, as long as you don't dictate the way they should perform, so if you offer several different, whatever artistic form appeals to them, then I have seen young people really engage with it and understand it and take it much further than anything we expected.
There was a very particular experience I had when I was doing my PhD research, which was working with feminists doing work with children who have been affected by HIV/AIDS. So they were either infected or they had parents who were infected or affected by HIV/AIDS. And they wanted to create services that put those children voices at the heart of the service. And they used arts practice. They used some drama, they used some visual arts, but they managed to create this incredibly radical governance structure within an organization that was centering the child and their experiences. And that was a huge inspiration. And I'm finding that I'm drawing on that experience from, I think, 12 years ago, 15 years ago now, to try to leverage that kind of centrality and voice of the child in the Verbatim Formula as we go forward.
Performative evaluation is not a paper-based evaluation. It is not something that has lots of numbers and tick boxes and digits. It is often performed by the person who is in the service which they are evaluating. So it can be a poem, a piece of spoken word, and it is set. The most important thing is that the participants actually set the questions. So if you're involved in a performative evaluation, you'll be invited into a project, you will set the questions for the agenda, you will ask those questions to the people you wish to ask, and then you will engage a response which is artistic. So as I said, something with spoken word or something that can be a song, it can be a movement piece, it can not have any words to it, but you perform it as an act in whichever location. So we've done them in libraries, in offices, now we've done it in an art centre, but tomorrow we're going to go and do it in a council office. So that is performative evaluation.